Welcome to the Unafraid Show, college football. Travis Hunter, he won the Heisman Trophy, got all sorts of reactions to that, and something for the Ashton Jeanty crowd. The transfer portal, oh, it giveth and it taketh away. And does Kenny Dillingham over at ASU have the right way to handle it? There will be some huge quarterback names to enter the transfer portal. I'm going to tell you who those are. And UCF and West Virginia, they're getting back with their exes. I don't know if that's a good idea. And what is Lane Kiffin's end goal with all of this complaining about everything? That and so much more here on the Unafraid Show. Let's get to it. We just passed 20,000 subscribers, and it is thanks to you guys. We appreciate it. And now make sure that you like, subscribe, get notifications if you're not already doing it, and most importantly, share the show, and then hop in them comments per the usual. But we are going to start today with the Heisman Trophy. Travis Hunter hoisted the trophy, and there are a lot of people who are absolutely upset about this as it relates to Ashton Jeanty. But there are times in life when you do something special, when people out in sports do something special, and most of the time that will get you the accolades and the recognition and the trophy, right? But then sometimes in that same year, somebody does something absolutely legendary, and that is exactly what we had this year. Because Ashton Jeanty rushing for 2,400 yards, is that a big deal? 100% right. However, though, the Heisman Trophy, winning the Heisman Trophy, it's just as much about the production on the field, and there's a marketing aspect to it as well. Because Boise State, they started this Ashton Jeanty Heisman Trophy campaign much too late. And I do believe that had he broken Barry Sanders' record during the regular season, he would have absolutely been able to hoist a Heisman Trophy. Now, let's look at Travis Hunter for a second, because I believe that the Heisman Trust got it right. They got it right with voting Travis Hunter as the Heisman winner. And a lot of people, oh, well, he wasn't the best receiver in the country. He wasn't the best DB in the country. But he's probably top 5 in both positions. When you look at the plays that he made, the difference maker that he was on the field, he essentially did what Devonta Smith did in his Heisman Trophy year at Alabama, and being a menace on defense as well, just like Charles Woodson did when he won. And when you think about the fact that he combined them into one season, like, coaches like to limit and specialize players, even ones who played both sides of the field in high school. They're like, man, that is too much wear and tear on your body. It's too hard. And they don't believe that you can necessarily be great at both positions in terms of a top guy at both positions. And Travis Hunter did that. And I do believe that the conditioning, the desire, the energy that it took to do that at a very high level, like not just doing it, but making plays and being an impact on both sides of the ball, that's just special. And I believe, too, that Travis Hunter being number 1 and Ashton Jeanty number 2 in the Heisman voting, it actually feels like the Heisman is returning to what it used to be. Because there was a point in time where I got upset with the Heisman Trophy voting and who it was going to. Because instead of it going to the best player in college football, it turned into the best quarterback on one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the country. And that's not what the Heisman is supposed to be. Because the best player in the country, the most outstanding player in the country, and that person that represents the Heisman values, that can be on a 3-loss team. That's just the reality. Because you can't play every position on the field. And then just giving it to quarterbacks, because there have been quarterbacks who have won that have not necessarily been even the best player on their team. And that was the part that used to frustrate me, is you're like, hold up. How in the hell are you going to give it to somebody who's not even the best player on their entire team? But then this is your Heisman winner because quarterbacks is like NFL MVP. They get so much credit in the situation. So I do love the fact that we're getting back to position players, defenders, everybody can win the Heisman Trophy. So I'm sorry, Ashton Jeanty. I know that he was disappointed because he said a quote after. He said, I should have been leaving here with the trophy. Marketing matters because Deion Sanders, Colorado, they've been marketing this as it related to Shedeur and Travis Hunter all year. Look at Oregon with Dillon Gabriel, Miami with Cam Ward. It's just the truth. And I know it wouldn't help Cam Ward and Travis Hunter that they're not playing in the college football playoff, but a question that I was asked that I believe is super reasonable, right? Super reasonable is, should the Heisman Trophy be moved back until after the college football playoff semifinals? Now, that wouldn't benefit Cam Ward and Travis Hunter because neither one of them is going to the college football playoff. But for guys like Dillon Gabriel and Ashton Jeanty, and Dillon Gabriel in particular, who has a great team around him, but played his best ball in their biggest games. Against Ohio State, against Penn State, dude was lights out. So should we include the college football playoffs in our potential Heisman situations? Because Dillon Gabriel would benefit, hell, even Ashton Jeanty, because there's more work to be done. I mean, you can look at Cam Scatterboot from Arizona State. He's the guy that would have benefited from a college football playoff run as well. Penn State's Ty Warren, their tight end. That, like, they could have earned an invite to the Heisman ceremony off of their college football playoff performances, because there's regular season performances and then there is the college football playoff. And now, but how the votes and everything shook out, I wasn't mad at it because there was a point where I didn't believe that Ashton Jeanty was going to have a realistic shot. But Travis Hunter had 2,231 points, while Jeanty had 2,017 points. 214-point difference, the smallest margin of victory since Alabama running back Mark Ingram beat out Toby Gerhart in 2009. Now, I would have voted it a whole different way, but that's a whole different story. But I believe that when I look at the list of the votes, I was like, they got it right. They got it right because you had Travis Hunter 1, Ashton Jeanty 2, Dillon Gabriel 3, Cam Ward 4. Then you had Cam Scatterboot, and that's another marketing situation. Had Arizona State been marketing him as a Heisman winner all year, he may have been in a different spot. But think about this. Arizona State had no intention or expectation on making the college football playoff, so there's no point in the Cam Scatterboot for Heisman ceremony because that's not the way that the Heisman has typically been awarded. And then you had Army's Bryson Daly, their quarterback. Oh, fantastic season in sixth place. Penn State's Ty Warren, good look. Then you had Colorado's Shedeur Sanders. Now, I do want to actually first, and then you had Indiana's Curtis Rourke, and then Syracuse's Kyle McCord. Oh, I thought Kyle McCord was a bum. No, he would. Ohio State would be better with him instead of Will Howard, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I want to talk about the Shedeur Sanders thing for a minute, because Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders in Colorado, they deserve a lot of credit for Travis Hunter winning the Heisman Trophy, because there was a point in this season, because remember, they both came into the season getting hype for the Heisman Trophy from Deion, from Colorado, from everything in between. But then there came a point where it shifted, and they said, all right, Shedeur, we know that you should be up for the Heisman Trophy, but we are going to push Travis. And that's a selfless act by Shedeur. And this benefits Deion Sanders. It benefits Colorado. It benefits Travis Hunter because he's going to be making money forever off this Heisman Trophy. There's so many people that this benefits because now kids are going to think about, ooh, I can go to Colorado and I don't have to be the quarterback to get pushed to win the Heisman Trophy. I love it. Love where the Heisman is headed. But I will say, Travis Hunter's Heisman speech, I was sitting there crying when he started talking about his dad and how much he meant to him and how this situation meant to him. Oh, God, it hit me all in the feels. I was like, who the hell is cutting onions in here? I was sitting there watching the trophy all by myself. And I was like, am I for real crying? And yes, it was one of them touching moments. I thought his speech was fantastic. I thought it had some humor. I thought it had some serious moments. He thanked everybody. He's appreciative. You see the energy surrounding him. Dude, I loved it. 100% everything about it. Thanked his girlfriend / fiance. Now, this is something that we got to talk about because you guys have been unrelenting on this young lady. And I get it. There's the whole she didn't stand up. Deion had to get her to stand up when his name was announced, everything like that. But she's a college student. She don't know how to be a wife yet. She don't know how to do all of these things. And we don't know her family situation, or what she taught, what she learned. But you notice she been there with him. She been there with him. So the question is, and for a very long time, all the way going back to high school, well, she knew he was going to make it. Dude, that's a lot of forethought. That's a lot of forethought to not be, to be in high school and be like, oh, man, I'm going to go play the good soldier for a long time and he'll marry me and this. Bro, that is a pipe dream. So I've learned this about people's relationships. There are things that go on in my marriage, my relationships, everything else that other people would never allow. And then there are things that go on in other people's houses that I would definitely not be cool with, that could never fly in my crib. And as long as them people are happy, guess who should be happy? We should be happy. And everybody trying to predict their downfall and everything else, man, just let the dude be happy. Let his girl be happy. Like, y'all on the internet nitpicking a relationship, that ain't gonna help anybody out. It ain't gonna help them. It's just gonna put more stress on everybody. And you know what? That might actually cause y'all to get what y'all want. A headline. Travis Hunter and girlfriend break up. And so you can say, see, I told you so. Just saying, man, just be a good person. And I know that there's a difference between gossiping and being observant. I'm just saying, I've observed some things too. But if Travis is happy, the people around him support them, who are we to judge from the outside? But speaking of Deion Sanders, though, I got to give him some major credit. And I got to give Travis Hunter major credit with this Heisman Trophy because Deion got the #1 player in the country in Travis Hunter to believe in him and not go to Florida State, not go to Alabama, Oregon, USC, Michigan, anywhere else. He got him to go to Jackson State and then lived up to all the promises. So Travis Hunter took a chance on him, on his whole future, going to Jackson State, an HBCU, then following him to Colorado instead of going because everybody else was on his phone. And that has turned into he's going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, and he just won the Heisman Trophy. What? It is amazing what happens when you sign up with the right people. When you get good quality people on your team. So kudos to Deion Sanders and kudos to Travis Hunter and his family buying into Deion Sanders because the dude lived up to everything that he promised him. Bravo. But speaking of believing in things, right? We got the transfer portal because the transfer portal opened up for business officially on Monday, even though that there were a bunch of players who were already in the portal because of, some technical rules surrounding coaches being fired and, whether they're graduate transfers and everything else. But for everybody else, it opened for business on Monday. And there are already 1,500 scholarship players in the transfer portal and almost 2,000 total FBS players that have their name in the transfer portal. Now, I know that you've been following Hayes Fawcett. You follow, Pete Thamel and everybody else in between. You haven't seen 1,500 tweets because they don't tweet out all 1,500 players. So there's a lot of players who get stuck in the portal, won't find homes, and everything else. But here is the interesting part about this is that you have 15 out of those 1,500 scholarship players who entered the transfer portal this cycle. 31% are players who have previously transferred during their college career. So, and that, honestly, it feels like a high percentage that's going to be expected going forward now that there's no more that one-time transfer rule and there's unlimited transfers as long as you meet your academic requirements and you fall within the windows. Because last year's portal cycle had 25% that were repeat transfers. And with the advent of NIL, along with this transfer portal, and the way that that so many colleges have to pay money, this is going to be interesting because the House settlement has been revised, and we're going to see if it passes. But yeah, stuff's getting real complicated, and there is one sad part about it. Before I get to the big names that have transferred in the transfer portal, is that of those players that have transferred, you had 11 last year. There were 11% of the transfers in the cycle who hadn't graduated. Think about that. And this year, it's nearly, of the repeat transfers, 11% they hadn't graduated. And then this year, 18% are repeat transfers who haven't earned their college degrees. And that's actually one of the things that is a negative impact and why you have to be making good decisions when a lot of these kids transfer. Because when they transfer schools, a lot of times they're switching majors, they're doing this, they're just gaining college credits. And the schools have a very tough situation because if a player is not interested, is not motivated in terms of completing their degree, and they're just worried about staying eligible, there's not much the school can do about that. So now you're going to have a lot more players finish the world of college football and not have their degrees. So you would have gone and, yeah, you would have made some NIL money and all of that. But then you're going to be in a situation where you don't have a degree. You can't go into coaching without a degree. I know most people don't know this, but you have to have your degree if you want to be a college coach. A lot of them even have their masters. So, and that means high school coaching, all of this. A lot of it is out of the window because you haven't jumped through these proper hoops. But we've already seen a lot of starting quarterbacks in the transfer portal already. Michael Van Buren over at Mississippi State. His whole damn team in the transfer portal. So he's in the portal. Malik Murphy from Duke in the portal. Fernando Mendoza from Cal. Darian Mensah from Tulane. Darian Dampier. Connor Weigman, Thomas Castellanos, Walker Howard, Billy Edwards. Those are some quarterbacks that have a lot of tape already that are in the college football transfer portal. And you look at the guys who are going to be most coveted, probably Fernando Mendoza, the Mensah kid from Tulane, and obviously Thomas Castellanos landed at Florida State. I think Billy Edwards is going to be from Maryland. He's going to be hotly pursued. But there are a couple of big names who I believe have a legitimate shot to end up in the transfer portal. One of them, Quinn Ewers. You're like, George, Quinn Ewers is going to the NFL. It doesn't at this point look like Quinn Ewers is going to be a first-round pick in the NFL. So if Quinn Ewers is not a first-round pick in the NFL, why would he go to the NFL? That makes no sense. If teams are going to offer him $3 to $4 million to go back to school, why would he not go back to school? That would make 0% sense. Why would he do that? He can make more from his signing bonus and what he would make in college this year, being a star and getting a chance to fix whatever imperfections that the NFL scouts see. Man, if you don't take your butt back to college, same thing. Jalen Milroe. It feels like Alabama is done with Jalen Milroe, and Jalen Milroe might be done with Alabama. So I would not be shocked if he ends up in the transfer portal. Now, Ewers is playing in the college football playoff, so you wouldn't hear anything about that anytime soon until after they're done playing. But Jalen Milroe, he ain't going to be no first-round pick this year either. I know he's talking about going to the NFL. Do not go to the NFL if you are a quarterback and you are not going to be a first-round pick. Makes no damn sense. None. If you have eligibility left, because you can be. Just saying. But there are a couple of transfers that have happened that I like already. You got Miller Moss to Louisville. Huge, huge. Because they did the same thing with Tyler Shuck last year coming from Texas Tech by way of Oregon. I like that. And I like Darian Dampier to Utah. I think that kid is going to be really good. He balled out over at New Mexico State this year. This big step up to Utah should have a lot of success. Yeah, I'm excited about both of those transfers. But the question is about the transfer portal. One of the biggest questions about the transfer portal is how to handle it. Because there's some coaches that are like, yo, fam, if you hop in the transfer portal, you're done here. Your name's coming off the nameplate. You're not getting back in the facility. Once you hop in that portal, sayonara, buddy. And then there are teams that will allow you to hop in the portal and still play in the bowl game. Hop in the portal and still play in the college football playoff. Like Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham. Because he's one of those dudes, if you hop in the transfer portal, he'll tweet about you and be like, yo, here's a guy, check him out. Which is cool and admirable. Some people don't think it's genuine, but it's nice either way. But he's doing something. He's allowing the players who are hopping in the transfer portal to then continue to play on their college football playoff run. And I'm like, and he's doing it because of when the window is. Because he wants them to have the opportunity to find a new home. Because they may not fit on their roster anymore or anything like that. And still reap the benefits of what they've earned this season. Because we saw Malik Murphy last year. He had to hop in the portal to go to Duke while Texas was still right before their semifinal game last year against Washington. That's not cool for a dude who had to play last year, sacrifice for the team, and then didn't get a chance to see it through. I don't like it. But this is the way of the world. And I do believe Arizona State is doing a smart move with this. But the question is, because Oregon has 4 players in the transfer portal too. One of them went to Arkansas. Amari Winston, we don't know where the other 3 kids are going yet. None of them were. Winston was probably the one who played the most because the other 3 really hadn't played. So the question is, though, if you're Oregon and your players are going to transfer, would you let them stay on this team and do what Kenny Dillingham has done? I got no problem with it, but the problem is if their intention is to transfer to a team that you could play in the college football playoff, no, sir. I don't want no part of that. Because at that point in time, you might be selling secrets to the other team. So I do not blame coaches that, particularly if you're playing in the college football playoff, you got players in the portal. All right, dude, if you want to hop in the portal, I would like you to stay the Arizona State way, but nah, because players from Georgia, players from Texas, players from ASU, wherever that may be transferring to like and similar places. Oh yeah, no. I'm sorry. But so far, though, we got a lot of players in the transfer portal. Arizona leading the way with 26 out of the Power 4. You got Arkansas and Mississippi State with 24 already. Kentucky with 21. Purdue with 20. But they got they fired their head coach. Oklahoma has 19, which is surprising. Texas A&M has 19. Texas A&M is not as surprising because Mike Elko came in. You usually have a lot of turnover the next year or that first year that a new head coach comes because you may not have guys that may not fit. Then you got Utah with 18, which feels a little bit shocking as well. But then in the group of 5, the numbers are wild. 35 from New Mexico, 29 from Charlotte, but Charlotte had a head coaching thing. Marshall with 27, Western Kentucky with 27, Coastal Carolina with 25, Tulsa with 25, Middle Tennessee and Sam Houston with 22, and Louisiana Tech and UAB with 20. So these rosters are being gutted. And that's where it feels like that the high school recruiting has to pick up at those schools. So then they can build rosters to be the pipeline to the bigger schools. It sucks, but this is the way of the world. But we also saw the first time something happened this year, and that's with Marshall. Because this is the first time that we've seen players react to a coaching decision, a coach being fired, like what just happened. Because after Marshall had 27, 25, 27, whatever the exact number is, guys hop in the transfer portal, they had to pull out of the Independence Bowl against Army. And then Louisiana Tech ended up being able to step in and play as a 5-7 team. But their situation is different, and this may be the first time that this has ever happened. So Charles Huff, their head coach, he ends up leaving to go to Southern Miss. But a lot of him leaving had to do with Marshall deciding to go in a separate direction after the season ended. So Marshall already said they're going in a different direction. He coached out the rest of the season. They win the Sun Belt Championship. The school wants to move on. He goes to Southern Miss. The kids are like, what the hell is going on? We want our coach here. So this is something now, maybe at Marshall it's not as big of a deal, but if this happens at other schools, book it, bank it, put it down on paper. This is going to be something that happens again, except for this will be like a Clay Travis, Tennessee situation where that just went bonkers or anything like that. Just saying. But the next thing is, we got coaches, schools going back to their exes. They're going back to their ex-coaches. This is happening at 2 places. You got Rich Rodriguez going back to West Virginia, and you got Scott Frost going back to UCF. Now, Rich Rod, dude pioneered the spread, and he went 42-5 from 2005 to 2007 at West Virginia before he left there to go to Michigan. So he bigger, better dealed you, and now you ain't been looking as hot right now, and you're like, hey, man, will you come back and hang out with us again? Same thing with Scott Frost. Dude went 13-0 at UCF. They wanted him to stay back in 2017. He went back and took the Nebraska job at his alma mater. Bigger, better deal. He said he got a chance to spend time with his dad before he passed. Yes, that probably had something to do with it, but that was a bigger, better deal situation because of Scott Frost's mentality. When he was at Oregon, he was like, oh, man, you can't recruit big here. You can't recruit, top classes here. That's the mentality. That's the bigger, better deal mentality. So the question is now, will it work for both of those schools getting back with the X? Because the X failed at the new places. And then y'all ain't been having success either. But now all of a sudden it's like, hey y'all, hey big head, you up? Y'all want to hang? Hey man, you want to go out and date again? Now sometimes marriages that break up, they get back together and it works, right? Sometimes it doesn't, because we just watched North Carolina fire Mac Brown and UMass fired Don Brown after trying to recapture them old glory days. And it definitely didn't work back in the day with John Robinson at USC. But I think a lot of this depends on your expectations, because it can work. Look at Bobby Hawk at Montana or Greg Schiano at Rutgers. And if he could have stayed healthy, Jeff Tepford at Fresno State. But I think a lot of it depends on the expectations. Does UCF expect another undefeated run out of Scott Frost? I don't know if that should be the expectation. Does West Virginia know Pat White, Steve Slayton, and Noel Devine aren't walking through that door again? Are they going to be able to put that together, that type of roster again? That's the question. It is expectations that breed disappointment. Just saying. Don't be disappointed. Last thing, though, is Lane Kiffin. I do not understand what Lane Kiffin's end goal is, because this dude has been complaining about the transfer portal, complaining about the timeline for recruiting in college football. He's been talking about who wants to play in the conference championship game if you might miss the college football playoff because of it while you're in the middle of it. I don't understand what his end goal is, because I tell people all the time, whether they work for me, my kids, anybody, do not be a problems-oriented people. Be a solution people. You got all these problems, Lane Kiffin. How about you give us some solutions instead of crying about everything? Because I think Lane Kiffin's a good coach. I respect him. Nothing bad to say about him. However, this in particular, this incessant whining and complaining about stuff, you're better than this, Lane. And a lot of people have said, no, he's not, because he does it all the time. No, he's better than that. Deep down inside, because I don't want to hear any complaining from any head coach making $5 million or more. No complaining. I don't want to hear nothing about the transfer portal. I don't want to hear nothing about the recruiting timeline. Don't want to hear nothing about it. Unless you got a solution. Come up there and talk about the problem and then give me a solution. Because you know that coaching college football is a hard job. You know the transfer portal exists. You know NIL exists. You know all the barriers right there. If you hate it so much, go do something else. But you don't. You love being a college football head coach. You love all the perks that come along with it. So you got to take the bad stuff with it. I live in California. Great weather. 2 hours you can be in the beach. 2 hours later you can be snowboarding later. But you know what? We got earthquakes. It's expensive to live here. Nothing is perfect. In the Midwest, you got tornadoes. In Miami, you got hurricanes and humidity. You got all sorts of stuff wherever you live. There's nothing in the world that's perfect. And then you got Lane Kiffin crying about it, about the transfer portal, NIL, when he is on his way to signing the number one transfer portal class again. He's the main one out here doing it. So why are you complaining about it? It is tiresome, and we got to do better. And we got to call these college football head coaches to the mat who are complaining. Because you know who's not complaining? Kirby Smart ain't complaining. Steve Sarkisian ain't complaining. Dan Lanning ain't complaining. James Franklin a little bit complaining. But for the most part, no, just observations and not complaining about it. Kenny Dillingham ain't complaining about it. He's just trying to motivate his boosters and donors. That's the right way. You know it's a hard job. Just do it and sign up and stop whining about it. And you guys, ain't no more whining and crying around here. This is the Unafraid Show. College football. You guys, thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Peace out. We will catch you guys this week because we got games and we got previews, predictions. So make sure that you come back.